What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. And I want to ask you a question. Have you ever wondered why sometimes you nail a trade and you feel unstoppable, and then other times you feel like you're fighting gravity itself? Well, what if I told you that there are hidden laws at work, and these laws I would say are as real as gravity, right? That dictate whether you soar or you crash as a trader. Now, in this trading session, we're going to pull back the curtains on 5 immutable laws of winning traders. Okay, think of them as the bedrock beneath every successful move. So that includes consistency, confidence, compounding growth. And these are real pillars that you can lean on when the markets are roaring and when they're whispering, when they're slow, when they're fast. Okay, now, law one is going to be the law of the farm. The second law is going to be the law of compounding. The third law is going to be the law of polarity. The fourth law is going to be the law of process. And the fifth law we're going to talk about is the law of reflection. Now, I just want to be very clear. This isn't some generic pep talk, right? This is for you, for the person that is battling with consistency, for those that are craving breakthroughs in their trading. And I want you to hit the subscribe button, press the bell, because we're going to make sure that we drop some fire here on this one. And trust me, you're never going to look at trading the same way again after this video. So let's be real, right? I want you to just imagine for a second you're on a farm, right? You don't sow corn seeds today, except golden ears tomorrow, right? You plant, you water, you wait for the rain and sunshine to do the work. And then a season later, you harvest. Now, this, my friends, this is called the law of the farm. You simply reap only what you sow and only when it's ready. And this is the same for us in trading. Okay. Too many of us chase quick wins, overnight success, one big win that passes our challenges. But here's the thing, guys, the real edge isn't a flash in a pan, it's a deliberate process that builds over time. And the law of the farm reminds you that growth comes in seasons, right? There's no shortcuts through nature's timetable, and there's no shortcuts through mastering the markets. And Aristotle nailed it when he said that we are what we repeatedly do. So every thought, every action, every micro decision compounds, right? Just like our crops. And if you water the seed with consistent practice, let's say journaling your trades, refining your entries, reviewing your mistakes, then over time, you're going to build a forest of competence. But if you neglect those seeds, then what are you going to get? Weeds, right? So let's think of it this way, right? Let's think of two neighbors. We got Farmer Sam and Gardener Jill, right? Farmer Sam wakes up at dawn. He sows his seeds in the field. He waits for spring. He tests his soil. He rotates the crops. He checks for pests every week. And he doesn't freak out if it rains too much or too little, right? He adapts. Then come harvest time, Sam's got bushes of grain stacked as high as the sky. Then you've got Gardener Jill, who wants roses this summer, right? So she buys a flashy fertilizer. She sprinkles it once and she expects it to bloom by July. Now, when she sees that it's June and there's only buds, she dumps half a bag more. Let's say she burns her roots. She stands with empty pots. Who wins? Who wins? Sam every single time. And this is the same in your trading. Your fields are your charts, your journals, your risk management process. So when you sow, you got to start small, right? You got to size your position so that drawdown isn't a heart attack, right? You've got to nourish it. You've got to stick to your plan. If a trade meets your criteria, let it grow. If it doesn't, then you got to pull it early, close a trade, no emotional watering. You got to review at the end of the week. You got to go back through your journal. What worked, what didn't, what wilted. And that process isn't glamorous, guys, right? Those tiny disciplined steps are what is really going to compound into a real edge season after season. So here's your action, right? I want you to take action. Plant one seed this week. Maybe that forces you to use a better stop loss placement without moving it. Or maybe just log a trade every single day. Water it. Follow it up tomorrow with the same discipline. Come back, rinse and repeat day after day. And remember, you cannot rush the harvest. Okay, you can only trust the process. And when the season finally comes, then you're going to be standing in the field of your own making. You're going to be able to reap what you sowed. Okay, so now that you've planted your seeds, I want to show you how a little water each day can turn into a flood of profits. Okay. And this is where we move on to the law of compounding, where small improvements accumulate into outsized results. And compounding, guys, isn't just for interest rates. Okay. It's for knowledge, it's for habits, so your trading skills. And I want you just to imagine improving yourself just 1% every single day, right? Day one, you do 1% better. Day 30, you're nearly 30% better. Day 100, you more than doubled your capabilities. And Benjamin Franklin famously committed to continuous self-improvement, right? One virtue at a time. And what he did is he tracked this on a simple chart day after day. Later, Charlie Munger, I'm sure most of you know who he is, called compound interest the world's greatest mathematical discovery. But it applies, guys, far beyond money, right? It's not just your trading, it's your mindset, it's your process, it's your results. And let's just say in a real world example, right? Your P&L, you start off with $1,000, just 1% per day, purely through tightening your entries by a hair, cutting losses a fraction sooner, or just journaling one extra insight, right? In 30 days, that 1,000 becomes nearly 1,350. In 100 days, that's over 7,300. And that is the real magic of compounding, tiny edges stacking up. Now, I know you're not going to win every single trade, obviously, okay? But it works. And here's how you do it. You've got to simply just micro tweak your entries and exits. Maybe it's a pip or two too tight. Maybe you need to enter half a second faster. Maybe you need to journal one extra detail. Note the weather, note your sleeping patterns, note your mood, note the news, whatever helps you recognize those patterns. You've got to take action, right? You've got to review yesterday's results, see if the needle moved, right? Because we're not looking for home run trades every single time, right? We're looking for singles and doubles. But what happens is they add up over time to an offensive barrage, right? So here is your challenge. Identify one micro improvement that you can make today, just one, write it down, execute it tomorrow, then rinse and repeat, right? Don't chase a home run. Build your compound engine and then watch it output, watch it skyrocket 1% at a time. And here's a brutal truth. Every roadblock in trading hides its own opportunity, right? And we'll move on to that law in a minute, which is the law of polarity. But you've got to understand the small steps that you don't want to do, the hard work that you keep delaying is the reason why you're not making progress. Okay. And this is why you have to observe these moments because, as I said, every roadblock in trading hides its own opportunity. And that is what we call the law of polarity, right? Every obstacle carries a seed of equal greater benefit. All right, I'll say that again. Every seed of equal greater benefit, every obstacle, okay, carries every seed of equal greater benefit. So when your P&L is not what you want it, you're not just taking a hit, you're being handed the blueprint for your next breakthrough, right? And Marcus Aurelius put it best when he says the impediment to action advances action. Right? So think about it. When you're stopped out, right? You enter a trade, it just turns back against you. You're forced to think, right? You're forced to adapt. You're forced to find a new route. And that's exactly how the greatest traders learn. Okay, there's no quick fix to this. And just think about this, right? There's a trader I once knew who blew his account. Every dollar, every single dollar gone. Savage drawdown, right? And he hit rock bottom. Now, most traders will quit, but he did something different, right? He opened up his journal and he wrote down, why did this happen? Just that one question. Why did this happen? Right? For weeks, he dissected every chart, every emotion that he was going through, every click that he took. He cataloged every mistake as a lost lesson. Okay. Then he rebuilt a system around those lessons. 6 months later, guys, the guy came back and he was killing it. Multiple funded, multiple payouts. And his worst loss became the cornerstone of his greatest edge. So when you're going through those moments where you feel like everything is crashing down on you, it's a sign that you can do this, right? Even after every loss, journal not just the numbers, but the feelings that you're going through. What spooked you out? Why did you hesitate? Where did your plan break down? And then sit down weekly and mine those notes for improvements, right? Tighten your stops, refine your entries, reframe your mindset, because your pain isn't proof that you're weak, right? It's raw data showing you exactly where you need to grow. So you got to remember your setback is your setup. And that drawdown isn't the end of your story. It's the first chapter of your comeback. And listen, goals are great for motivation, all right? But they're often a trap. And if you set a target, let's just say to hit 10% return this month, and then you miss it, everything falls apart. But that's where the law of process comes into play, right? It outcomes that you must follow a robust, repeatable system more than just lofty goals, right? You don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your system. And there's something that you must remember. And I'm sure you guys know James Clear, but he nailed it when he said, you do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your system. So I want you to think of identity-based habits, right? When you believe that I am a disciplined trader, what happens? The system follows you. You don't wake up every morning and grit your teeth to meet your goal. You simply just execute your system because that's who you are, right? And I want you to consider an Olympic sprinter. They don't train just for one big race, right? They follow painstakingly daily routines, nutrition plans, drills, rest cycles, mental prep, right? They don't ask, can I hit 9.8 seconds today, right? They ask, did I complete today's system? And then over time, the results come. And in your trading, your system might be, let's say, a pre-market checklist, right? You scan for the news, you understand your risk limits for the day. You have a trading plan that's been drafted out. You have risk management rules. Maybe that you never risk more than 1% per trade. You always use a stop loss. Or you could do a weekly review cycle every Friday afternoon, analyze every trade you've taken this week, grade each trade based on the process adherence that you follow. This process is not glamorous, man. It's mundane, it's laborious, but they're powerful. And this is what the majority of traders are not doing. So here's your next move. Define one core system that you're going to follow through tomorrow. Maybe it's a 5-step entry checklist. I don't know. Maybe it's log in every trade within an hour. Then commit, right? And say something along the lines of like, I am the trader or kind of trader who is going to commit to following this. Master this system. And then the results will chase you. Because when you master the process, guys, the outcome becomes inevitable. And here's the hard truth. Without pausing to look back, you're doomed to repeat the same mistakes. And I hate to say it. So here's where the law of reflection comes in, right? Regular reflection turns experience into insight. And Seneca, the Stoic philosopher, right, insisted that self-examination was the cornerstone of wisdom. And he wrote that every single night before I go to sleep, ask yourself, what good have I done today? Great companies do the same with annual retrospectives, right? Scrubbing every success and failure for lessons. This is your business, right? Don't think that this is just you pressing the button, even though that's important. And I want you to think of this, right? If you're a trader that is stuck in the losing spiral, right, and you're not journaling, then you've got to commit to weekly trade post-mortem, right? Let's say every Friday afternoon, you review your charts, every emotion, every snippet that you went through, then categorize them. Your entry errors, exit hesitations, risk miscalculations, and then build mini action plans to address each one of them. And then watch, in 90 days, 3 months later, you're going to see a win rate double, not because you got luckier, but because you was learning faster than the market was changing. And here's what you got to do, right? You've got to have structured journals. Don't just jot profit and loss. Log your rationale, right? Your state of mind, your market context. You might be saying, oh, rocks, I know, I hear this all the time. There's 100,000 different. I'm telling you now, this is the process, man. These 5 laws are going to change your life, right? Get a trade review template. Use consistent headings. What went right? What went wrong? What is your improvement plan? Maybe get peer accountability. Share your postmortems with a trading partner, a friend, somebody in a community, and commit your next week tweaks out loud. Because reflection isn't optional, guys. It's the engine that converts raw experience into sharpened skill. And without it, you're not progressing. You're simply recycling. So tonight, please, once you finish watching this, carve out 30 minutes of your time, open your journal, look back, then move forward, armed with insights instead of ignorance. Okay? So, oh, in actual fact, that was the five of them, right? So let's just do a lightning recap here, okay, of these five laws. The law of the farm. Understand this, guys. You reap only what you sow and only in season. So you cannot rush the process. All right. We've got the law of compounding. So tiny edges stack up into exponential gains. Never forget that. Then we have the law of polarity. Every setback hides its own opportunity. It's a sign, guys. It's a sign. You got the law of process, right? Systems always outpace wishful goals. I'll say it again because it's my favorite. System always outpaces wishful goals. And then you got the law of reflection, right? Looking back is the only way to move forward. So, guys, if you're serious about your transformation, this is your roadmap, right? One video, five laws, and one breakthrough at a time. Okay. As I always say, keep trusting the process.